course of this world, designed by and for Satan, the god of this world, was firmly established in the first civilization that grew up in ancient Babel, where the sons of Noah initially settled in the land of Shinar after the flood. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar. And they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Babel, along with 3 other cities, was the beginning of the kingdom of Nimrod in the land of Shinar. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. And we know from history, archaeology, and the Bible that Babylon, this city of Nimrod in the land of Shinar, was a city of idols in which many images of gods were worshipped. The word that the Lord spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet, declare ye among the nations, and publish and set a standard. Publish and conceal not, say, Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded, Merodach is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces. Nimrod was the mighty hunter who built Babel with its tower and surrounding cities. He was a man, yet worshipped as God. From Babel, in the land of Shinar, went forth Ashur, the well-documented first king of Assyria, who was also worshipped as God. Out of that land went forth Ashur, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth and Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, the same as a great city. Ashur brought with him the same idolatrous and violent course of this world that Satan had established at Babel through Nimrod. And so Mystery Babylon began to spread across the earth via Ashur. He was depicted as the supreme national god of the ancient Assyrians, a war god whose symbol was an archer within a winged disc. He continued the idolatry that started at Babylon, making himself the high priest. And so, as with other Mesopotamian deities, worship of Ashur consisted of priests tending the statue of their god in the temple and taking care of the duties of the temple complex surrounding it. The practice of idolatry in ancient Mesopotamia was firmly established, which is worshipping someone or something as God instead of worshipping God, the creator of heaven, earth, and all living things. Anyone who's studied ancient history will be aware of the common features of so-called civilization that spread across the world, from Babylonian and Assyrian origins to Egyptian, Phoenician, Greek, and Roman empires. They each had rulers who claimed to be appointed by a chief god to rule over men. And these rulers required their subjects to worship not just a range of gods through images, but to acknowledge them personally as God incarnate. In each case, accumulation of wealth through a system of government and laws, idol worship with sacrifices in temples or holy sites, trading, violence, and illegal traffic enabled expansion of their dominion. It's important to note that while these empires were ruled by individuals who possessed great power to subjugate by force the populations under their control, actually those people were willingly subservient for the most part due to the perceived practical benefits of being a citizen of a great empire. To rebel was almost not an option, and only for those whose belief forbade them from bowing down to other gods. So it was a consensual arrangement in that most citizens were happy to bow down to whatever gods the king required in exchange for wealth and protection. Each of these ancient rulers wanted to make a name for himself, to be a mighty man of renown. So they offered the choice of food and prosperity to all who would worship them and their gods, or alternatively, suffer the severe consequences ranging from beatings, imprisonment, confiscation of property, and even the death penalty. We'll see not just how this common approach to empire building served the egotistic ambitions of mortal men, but how it has paved the way for an attempted realization of Satan's declared goal, in which through a man he seeks to be worshipped as God, seated in the temple of God, on the Mount of the Congregation, on the sides of the north, in Jerusalem's Mount Zion. The names given to Babylon in Revelation help to convey the linkage between ancient Babylon and that great city which God will destroy with all its idols prior to setting up his kingdom on the earth. Babylon is named in the book of Revelation as the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. She's described as a woman arrayed in purple and scarlet colour and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of the abominations and filthiness of her fornication. She's described as one with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. A great whore that sitteth upon many waters. God's judgments on the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth will be, as the Bible states, true and righteous. For he hath judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. With such a strong characterization of Babylon, it behoves us to inquire further. Why have kings and inhabitants of the earth been intoxicated by the abominations and filthiness of the fornications in Babylon's golden cup? Moreover, in what way has Babylon been responsible for the death of God's servants? Despite centuries of decline and desolation as a city, Babylon is cited in Revelation as the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. This is because she, as the mother, is the one who gave birth to a system that has since corrupted the whole earth with her abominations. The biblical naming of Babylon as the mother of harlots is because the fornication which Mother Babylon and her children engaged in has been in exchange for money. In a system of trafficking and merchandise, banking, borrowing and debt that continues to this day. It's an idolatrous system, seen by God as a detestable abomination. Tens of thousands of cuneiform tablets from the time of King Hammurabi, 1792 to 1750 BC, provide evidence of many types of transactions that were common in ancient Babylonia, including names, amounts, interest charged, and repayment dates. The currency was shekel, which at that time was a fixed weight for silver, gold, and precious stones that could be used to buy goods. Palaces and temples were considered safe places to store these precious metals and stones, for which a fee was charged, and from which those in need could borrow under a contract to repay with interest. So under this system, the kings and priests accumulated surplus wealth, enabling them to purchase and rent out land to tenant farmers in exchange for labour or military servitude. The Babylonian system of government, commerce and religion didn't begin as a mystery. It was completely transparent that the rulers of Babylon attributed their power, riches and their every achievement to the gods who they represented, and to whom they and their subjects submitted in consensual worship, instead of worshipping the one true God who in the beginning created the heaven and the earth. What may not have been so apparent to the general population was that Satan, as the spiritual king of Babylon, was the one who inspired their ruler to create a whole way of life, a system of civilization in which men eagerly worshipped graven images of wood and stone as God, believing their worship and obedience would bring blessings of prosperity and safety. Even today, the love of money is the root of all evil, and it's the underpinning allure that attracts the natural greed in mankind to enthusiastically pursue the course of this world. Satan is described in the Bible as the god of this world, and by its course, which he designed, he has cleverly enticed the power-hungry kings of the world to drink of the wine of Mystery Babylon's idolatrous fornication. Mystery Babylon, as it's called, has become a worldwide yet strangely hidden system of government, violence, commerce, and religion in which those who follow the Babylonian example most closely amass a financial surplus and therefore power to expand their empires and reputations. The history of the Phoenician Empire is a well-documented example of this model of money and power acquired by trade and war, creating a city of great beauty and strength, which eventually fell to Alexander the Great. Now, under their self-proclaimed God-appointed ruler, the wise men of Tyre built and sustained a strong economy through a complex and diverse system of merchandise and trade arrangements with other nations, enabling the construction of impressive infrastructure and providing citizens with a prosperous and comfortable lifestyle. Like Babylon, all of this was underpinned by an idolatrous religious system that provided a sense of security in which the inhabitants of Tyre followed the commands of their ruler in obedience to civil and religious law. They believed that ritualistic prayer, sacrifices, and worship of their gods placated their anger and secured providence and protection. On the one hand, they had a mindset of "in our gods we trust," yet like empires before and since, the description of Tyre's beauty includes not just a strong economy, but their military might. Many nations claim to trust in God, yet they find a need to invest heavily in armies to protect their trade arrangements and to project their strength through violence. In the case of the city-state of Tyre, its armies were conscripted from surrounding nations, contributing to its perceived comeliness and beauty. They of Persia and of Lud and of Put were in thine army, thy men of war. They hanged the shield and helmet in thee, they set forth thy comeliness. The men of Arvad with thine army were upon thy walls round about, and the Gammadims were in thy towers. They hanged their shields upon thy walls round about. They have made thy beauty perfect. Tyre was a sight to behold, an almost impenetrable walled city-state on an island. And this is how it stood in prosperity for centuries until Alexander the Great built a connecting causeway from the mainland to establish a siege by land and sea. Tyre's great army was there to protect the trading arrangements it had with many nations. Those trade agreements were extensive both in diversity of products and market reach, bringing great wealth into the city and to all its merchants. Ezekiel 27, 12-27 provides a long list of Tyre's trading partners and the multitude of products that they each traded under this Babylonian-styled system. It describes how Tyre used its merchant navy's dominance to replenish its market supplies. But as we'll see, the final destruction of Tyre is a picture of the worldwide fall of Mystery Babylon, prophesied in the book of Revelation. In Ezekiel's already fulfilled prophecy of Tyre's fall, it went from being a city that enriched the kings of the earth to becoming an object of astonishment and terror. Tyre's dramatic fall from such a lofty, unassailable position affected all the nations who were bought into her Babylonian-styled system. When thy wares went forth out of the seas, thou filledst many people. Thou didst enrich the kings of the earth with the multitude of thy riches and of thy merchandise. In the time when thou shalt be broken by the seas, in the depths of the waters thy merchandise and all thy company in the midst of thee shall fall. All the inhabitants of the isles shall be astonished at thee, and their kings shall be sore afraid. They shall be troubled in their countenance. The merchants among the people shall hiss at thee, and thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt be any more. Now, in part 3, we'll look at the reason for the downfall of the king of Tyrus. It's the same reason that brought other leaders and their empires to an end, and crucially, it's exactly the same reason that will precipitate the prophesied downfall of Mystery Babylon in the end of days.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like